The summons, the emergency beacon echoed through the vast halls of the Galactic Council station, its red pulse casting eerie shadows across the assembled delegates. 47 different species had gathered in less than 12 hours, their various forms of communication, creating a symphony of clicks, growls, harmonics, and translated speech that filled the massive chamber. At the center of it all stood the holographic display showing the same troubling data that had brought them together. 3 research vessels had vanished, all near Earth's outer colonies. All within the past month. Ambassador Zektar of the Velfani Collective rose from his crystalline perch, his 6 arms gesturing toward the display. His species had evolved from ocean predators, and when agitated, their bioluminescent patterns flashed in dangerous reds and oranges. Today, Zektar practically blazed with fury. Honored colleagues, his voice resonated through the chamber's translation matrix. We can no longer ignore the human problem. The evidence is undeniable. 3 of our most advanced research vessels, equipped with the finest technology the galaxy has to offer, have simply vanished without a trace. The only common factor is their proximity to Terran space. High Chancellor Morden, ancient leader of the Thyllorian Republic, shifted his massive bulk on the Council's highest tier. His species had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations, and his deep, rumbling voice carried the weight of millennia. Ambassador Zektar speaks with passion, but we must proceed with caution. The humans joined our galactic community only 50 years ago. Perhaps there are explanations we have not considered. A harsh chittering filled the air as the insectoid Hive Queen Vexala spoke, her words translated into a mechanical buzz. Explanations? 3 ships, Chancellor. Ships that could withstand the gravity of gas giants and the radiation of dying stars. They do not simply disappear unless something makes them disappear. The chamber erupted in heated discussion. Some species called for immediate action. Others urged restraint. The Aquatic Federation made gurgling sounds of concern while the silicon-based Gornith clicked their disapproval in perfect synchronization. But beneath it all was a current of fear that none wanted to acknowledge. Humans were different. Everyone knew it. They came from what the galactic community politely termed a death world. Earth was classified as a Class 12 hostile environment, a planet so dangerous that most species wouldn't consider it habitable even with full environmental suits. Gravity that would crush the bones of lighter species. An atmosphere that was toxic to half the galaxy. Weather patterns that could flatten cities. And yet humans thrived there. More disturbing were the reports that had filtered through diplomatic channels over the decades. Humans who could survive in vacuum for short periods. Humans who could go days without water and weeks without food. Humans who seemed to become more dangerous when wounded or cornered. The galactic community had accepted them as members, but always with a nervous eye on what they might be capable of. Zektar raised his arms for silence. The time for caution has passed. We have sent 3 formal requests for explanation to the Human Colonial Authority. They have responded to none. This silence is unacceptable. I motion that we issue an ultimatum. The humans will appear before this council within 7 standard days to answer for these disappearances, or we will consider them in violation of the Galactic Peace Accords. The vote was swift and decisive. 38 species voted in favor, 7 abstained, and only 2 voted against. The message was dispatched immediately through Quantum. Relay to Earth's primary communication hub. The response came back within 6 hours. It was brief, formal, and unsettling in its simplicity. Earth acknowledges the Council's summons. We will send a representative. 5 days later, a single human transport ship requested docking clearance at the Council station. It was smaller than expected, bearing only the basic diplomatic identifiers required by galactic law. No flags, no ceremonial decorations, no delegation markings. Just a plain vessel that looked more military than diplomatic. The docking bay that greeted the human ship was filled with security personnel from a dozen different species. Council protocol demanded that all diplomatic arrivals be properly received, but the tension in the air suggested this was more prison welcome than diplomatic courtesy. Cameras from every major galactic news network focused on the airlock as it cycled through its opening sequence. What emerged was not what anyone expected. She was tall by human standards, probably close to 6 feet, with short-cropped brown hair and scars that spoke of battles survived. Her uniform was black with subtle gray accents, clearly military in design, but bearing no visible rank insignia. She carried no weapons, but her posture suggested she didn't need any. Her eyes swept the assembled crowd with the calm assessment of someone who had faced worse odds and survived. "I am Commander Sarah Mitchell, Earth Colonial Marine Corps," she announced, her voice carrying clearly across the docking bay, despite its conversational tone. "I'm here to address the Council's concerns." The security detail exchanged nervous glances. They had expected diplomats, translators, maybe even scientists. Instead, Earth had sent a single soldier. The implications were not lost on anyone present. Ambassador Zektar, who had come to personally greet the human delegation, found himself facing something he hadn't prepared for. His bioluminescent patterns flickered with uncertainty as he approached. "Commander Mitchell, the Council expected a diplomatic envoy. Are you here as Earth's official representative?" Mitchell's expression didn't change. "I'm here to give you the answers you demanded, Ambassador. Whether you like those answers is up to you." The procession to the council chamber was unlike any in the station's history. Usually, diplomatic arrivals were accompanied by ceremonies, formal presentations, and elaborate protocols. Mitchell simply walked, flanked by nervous security guards who weren't sure if they were providing escort or containment. Her boots echoed on the metal deck plates with mechanical precision, each step measured and purposeful. News of the human representative's arrival had spread quickly through the station. Aliens pressed against viewing ports and gathered in corridors to catch a glimpse of the Deathworlder who had come alone to face the Council's judgment. Some whispered about human military capabilities, others about their legendary stubbornness. All wondered what would happen next. The council chamber had been configured for maximum intimidation. The human would stand alone in the center while 47 species looked down from elevated positions, designed to emphasize the collective power arrayed against any individual. The lighting had been adjusted to create a spotlight effect, isolating the speaker while leaving the council members partially shadowed. Mitchell entered without hesitation and took her position at the designated speaking platform. She looked up at the assembled delegates with the same calm expression she had worn since arriving, showing no signs of being impressed or intimidated by the display. High Chancellor Mordoon's voice boomed through the chamber. "Commander Mitchell, you stand before the Galactic Council as Earth's representative. 3 research vessels belonging to member species have vanished near human colonial space. The Council demands an explanation." Mitchell was quiet for a long moment, her gaze moving slowly across the tiers of alien delegates. When she finally spoke, her voice carried clearly without amplification. "Before I answer your questions, I have one of my own. Did any of you bother to ask what those research vessels were researching?" Zektar's patterns flashed angry red. "That is irrelevant. They were conducting legitimate scientific studies in neutral space." "Neutral space?" Mitchell repeated, her tone remaining level. "Let me show you something." She reached into her uniform and withdrew a small device, placing it on the platform beside her. The device projected a 3-dimensional map showing the local galactic sector. 3 red dots marked the locations where the vessels had vanished. Blue markers showed human colonies. The relationship was immediately obvious to everyone present. "Your neutral space happens to coincide perfectly with our primary shipping lanes, Mitchell continued. Your research vessels were conducting deep scans of every human ship that passed through these areas. Scans that went far beyond normal navigation safety protocols. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Several species shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Mitchell activated another function on her device. But that's not all they were researching. The hologram changed, showing detailed scans of human colonial installations, population centers, and defense installations. These are the files we recovered from probe wreckage in our outer system. Your researchers were mapping our defenses, analyzing our technology, and studying our people like laboratory specimens. The chamber fell silent. The evidence was undeniable, displayed in the alien's own scanning data. Zektar rose to his full height, his bioluminescence now pulsing with agitation. Even if this is true, it does not explain what happened to our vessels. Where are they? Commander? Mitchell looked directly at him. They're gone. Gone where? Gone because they crossed a line. You want to know what humans are capable of? You want to understand why Earth is classified as a death world. It's not just because of our environment, Ambassador. It's because of what that environment created. We don't just survive in hostile conditions. We adapt, we learn, and we protect what's ours. She gestured to the holographic display. Your vessels weren't just scanning our ships. They were preparing invasion routes. They were identifying weaknesses. They were treating us like a problem to be solved rather than allies to be respected. So we solved the problem first. High Chancellor Mordoon leaned forward, his ancient voice heavy with concern. Commander, are you admitting that Earth destroyed Council vessels? I'm admitting that Earth defended itself, Mitchell replied. Your own records will show that we issued warnings. We requested explanations. We followed proper diplomatic channels. What we got in return were more scans, more probes, and more surveillance. So we sent a message. The chamber erupted in anger. Voices, alien languages mixing in a cacophony of outrage and fear. Several delegates stood, their various forms of agitation on full display. Only Mitchell remained calm, standing at the center of the storm she had created. Zichu's voice cut through the noise. This is an act of war, an unprovoked attack on peaceful research missions. Mitchell's expression hardened slightly. Unprovoked? Ambassador, how would your species react if human vessels started conducting detailed military scans of your homeworld? If we positioned ships in your primary trade routes and began analyzing every aspect of your civilization? Would you consider that peaceful research? Before Zektar could respond, Mitchell continued. The 3 vessels you lost were advanced military scouts disguised as research ships. Their scanning equipment was capable of detecting individual life signs through ship hulling. Their stealth capabilities were designed for surveillance, not science, and their crews included specialists in xenomilitary analysis and invasion planning. She paused, letting the implications sink in. You didn't send scientists to study space phenomena. You sent spies to study us. The only question is whether this was official council policy or the unauthorized action of individual species. The silence that followed was deafening. Every delegate in the chamber understood the accusation and its implications. If Mitchell was telling the truth, then the council itself might be compromised. If she was lying, then Earth was far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. High Chancellor Mordoon's voice rumbled through the chamber with careful deliberation. Commander Mitchell, these are serious accusations. Do you have proof of these claims? Mitchell smiled for the first time since entering the chamber, and somehow that expression was more unsettling than her previous call. Chancellor, we've been monitoring your communications for the past 6 months. We know about the secret sessions. We know about the human assessment protocol. We know that some of you have been planning for the day when you might need to contain or eliminate the death world threat. She activated her device once more, and the hologram filled with intercepted communications, classified documents, and recorded conversations between various council members. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. "So here's Earth's answer to your summons," Mitchell said, her voice cutting through the shocked silence. "We didn't come here to be judged. We came here to serve notice. Humanity has spent 50 years trying to be good galactic citizens. We've followed your rules, respected your boundaries, and contributed to your science and culture. But we won't be studied like specimens, and we won't tolerate surveillance disguised as diplomacy." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of every delegate she could see. "The 3 vessels you lost were destroyed because they posed a direct threat to human security. We gave them multiple opportunities to withdraw. They chose to continue their illegal surveillance. We chose to protect our people." Zektar's bioluminescence had shifted to deep purple, a color that indicated shock and confusion among his species. What do you want from us?" "Respect," Mitchell said simply. "Stop treating us like a problem to be solved. Stop sending spies disguised as scientists. Stop planning for wars that don't need to happen. We're not your enemies unless you make us your enemies." High Chancellor Mordoon's ancient wisdom guided his next words carefully. "And if we agree to these terms? If we acknowledge that mistakes were made and commit to more transparent relations?" Mitchell's expression softened slightly. "Then we can move forward as true allies. Humanity has a lot to offer the galactic community. Our adaptability, our resilience, our different perspective on problem solving. But we offer these as partners, not as subjects of study." She picked up her device and deactivated it. "The choice is yours, Chancellor. You can continue to see us as a threat to be contained, or you can recognize us as allies to be valued. But understand this: we will not be passive participants in our own surveillance. We will not submit to analysis by species who consider us dangerous, simply because we survived on a dangerous world." The chamber remained silent as Mitchell turned and began walking toward the exit. Her footsteps echoed with the same measured precision that had marked her arrival. At the doorway, she paused and looked back. "Oh, and one more thing," she said, her voice carrying clearly across the vast space. "The next ship you send to spy on us better be carrying diplomats with transparent intentions. Because the alternative won't be 3 missing vessels. It will be a demonstration of exactly why Earth is classified as a death world." With that, she was gone, leaving the council to contemplate the reality that humanity had just shifted from a question to be studied into a force to be reckoned with. Asterisk. The emergency session convened 6 hours after Commander Mitchell's departure. The council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as delegates huddled in species-specific groups, their conversations a mixture of outrage, fear, and grudging respect. The human had not just answered their questions. She had turned the entire proceeding into an indictment of their own actions. Ambassador Zektar paced within his crystalline delegation area, his bioluminescent patterns cycling rapidly through, colors that indicated deep agitation. "She made fools of us," he hissed to his colleagues. "Walked into our chamber, presented our own surveillance data, and made us look like the aggressors." High Chancellor Mordoon called for order, his massive frame settling into his ceremonial seat with a sound like shifting mountains. "The human's words have given us much to consider," he rumbled. "But words are one thing. Actions are another. We need to understand what we are truly dealing with." The insectoid hive queen Vexala clicked her mandibles in agreement. The Death Worlder spoke of capabilities, of adaptability, of why their world is classified as hostile. But we have only seen one individual, We need to understand what their species is truly capable of as a collective. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Several delegates nodded or made their species equivalent gestures of concurrence. The fear that had driven them to summon Earth in the first place had not been alleviated by Mitchell's explanations. If anything, it had been amplified. Zektar's patterns shifted to the deep blue of calculated thinking. There may be a way to assess their capabilities without direct confrontation, a test that appears to be something else entirely. He gestured to the central display, which shifted to show a star system at the edge of known space. The Kepler 442 system has been experiencing increased pirate activity in recent months. The Creolon Syndicate has established a base there and has been raiding shipping lanes throughout the sector. 3 separate species have lost merchant vessels to their attacks. Chancellor Mordoon's ancient eyes focused on the display with interest. You propose what, exactly? A rescue mission, Zektar continued, his excitement growing. The pirates have taken hostages from the most recent raids. Civilians from multiple species, including children. A joint council fleet would be too large and too slow to mount an effective rescue. But a small, specialized force might succeed. The implications became clear to several delegates simultaneously. The Aquatic Federation representative made burbling sounds of understanding, while the silicon-based Gornith clicked in harmonic agreement. Want to invite the humans to participate, Chancellor Mordoon observed. More than participate, Zektar corrected. I want to see what they do when faced with a scenario that plays to their supposed strengths. Hostile environment, impossible. Odd civilians in danger. If their reputation is deserved, they should excel. If it is merely propaganda, we will learn that as well. The vote was closer than the previous summons, but it carried. A formal request for assistance would be transmitted to Earth, couched in terms of humanitarian crisis and cross-species cooperation. What the Council didn't mention was that they would be monitoring every aspect of the human response with sensors far more sophisticated than anything the previous surveillance vessels had carried. Earth's response came within hours, and it was not what they expected. We'll send a small team, the message read. Commander Mitchell will lead the mission with minimal support. We appreciate the Council's confidence in our capabilities. The rescue scenario was real enough. The Creolon pirates were indeed holding hostages in the Kepler 442 system, and the Council's intelligence indicated approximately 47 civilians from various species were being held in a fortified asteroid base. What made the situation ideal for testing human capabilities was that the base was located in a region of space known for gravitational anomalies, radiation storms, and unstable asteroidal debris fields. Perfect conditions for a species supposedly adapted to hostile environments. Commander Mitchell arrived 2 days later, aboard a ship that was even smaller than her previous transport. With her came 3 other humans. Lieutenant Marcus Chun, a lean man with calculating eyes who served as tactical analyst. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a woman whose medical insignia couldn't hide the fact that she moved like a soldier. And Sergeant Jake Morrison, a man whose massive frame and quiet demeanor suggested he was their heavy weapons specialist. The Council's monitoring ship followed at maximum sensor range, its instruments recording everything from the human ship emissions to their communication patterns. What they observed in the first few hours was both impressive and disturbing. The human ship moved through the debris field like it belonged there, navigating gravitational anomalies that would have destroyed most vessels. Their approach to the pirate base was not the careful, methodical advance that Council military doctrine would have dictated. Instead, they seemed to embrace the chaos of the environment, using asteroid shadows and radiation bursts to mask their approach. Fascinating, observed the monitoring ship's science officer, a member of the Thylorian species known for their analytical minds. They are not fighting the hostile environment. They are using it as a tool. Lieutenant Chun's voice came over. The communication channel the humans had opened with the monitoring ship. Council observer, we're beginning reconnaissance of the target. Be advised, we're detecting some anomalies in your intelligence data. Anomalies? The Philorian science officer responded. Please elaborate. The pirate base isn't just fortified, Chun replied. It's military-grade fortified. These aren't. Random raiders, they're equipped with heavy weapons, military-grade shields, and coordinated defensive patterns. Someone's been supplying them with equipment far beyond typical pirate capabilities. On the monitoring ship, the science officer exchanged glances with his colleagues. The pirate base had indeed been enhanced beyond normal Kree-Alon capabilities, but that information had been classified. How had the humans detected it so quickly? Commander Mitchell's voice joined the communication. Council observer, we're also detecting stealth emissions from your monitoring position. Are there other assets in this system we should know about? The question sent a chill through the monitoring ship's crew. Their position should have been undetectable at their current range, and their stealth systems were among the most advanced in the galaxy. Yet somehow the humans had not only detected them, but identified their purpose. I'm beginning to suspect, Mitchell continued, her tone remaining conversational, that this isn't exactly the straightforward rescue mission it appeared to be. Before the Council ship could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the system. The enhanced pirate base had detected the Council monitoring ship and was launching attack craft. But more disturbingly, additional contacts were appearing on sensors throughout the system. The Kree-Alon hadn't just established a base in Kepler 442. They had turned it into a major military installation. Council observer, Mitchell's voice. Cut through the growing chaos. You've got 12 attack craft inbound on your position. Your stealth isn't going to help you much longer. The monitoring ship's commander, a veteran of several interspecies conflicts, found himself in a situation he hadn't anticipated. The test had become a trap, and the humans were apparently the only ones who had seen it coming. Commander Mitchell, he transmitted, we require immediate assistance. Copy that? Mitchell replied without hesitation. Dr. Vasquez, prep for hostile boarding actions. Morrison, I need heavy suppression on those attack craft. Chun, plot me an intercept course that uses the asteroid field for cover. What followed was a display of tactical coordination that the Council observers had never witnessed before. The human ship accelerated directly into the debris field, using gravitational slingshots around asteroids to build velocity while remaining hidden from the attacking pirates. Instead of engaging the enemy at long range, where their superior numbers would be decisive, the humans closed to point-blank range, where their ship's maneuverability gave them the advantage. Lieutenant Chun's tactical analysis proved devastatingly effective. He had identified weak points in the pirate formation before the engagement even began, directing Morrison's weapons fire to create cascading failures in their attack pattern. Dr. Vasquez, despite being listed as medical personnel, demonstrated combat skills that rivaled dedicated military specialists, but it was Commander Mitchell's leadership that truly impressed the observers. She didn't just coordinate her team's actions. She seemed to anticipate enemy movements before they happened, positioning her ship to take advantage of opportunities that didn't yet exist. How is she doing that? The monitoring ship's tactical officer wondered aloud as Mitchell's ship performed another impossible maneuver, using an asteroid's gravity well to change direction while firing at two different targets simultaneously. She's not fighting the environment, the science officer repeated his earlier observation. She's making the environment fight for her. The engagement lasted 18 minutes. When it was over, 8 of the 12 attacking craft had been destroyed. 3 were disabled, and 1 had fled back to the pirate base. The human ship had sustained minor damage and no casualties. Council observer, Mitchell's voice came over the communication channel. Your ship is secure for now, but we've got bigger problems. This isn't a pirate base. It's a military installation, and those weren't raiders. They were advanced scouts. Advanced scouts for what? The monitoring ship's commander asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer. Unknown contacts dropping out of hyperspace, Chun reported. Multiple vessels, heavy configuration, and they're not broadcasting any identification signals. The sensors confirmed what the humans had detected. 7 large vessels had arrived in the system, their design unlike anything in the Council's databases. They were massive, predatory-looking ships that radiated an aura of ancient malevolence. Dr. Vasquez's voice was grim as she ran the sensor data through her ship's analysis systems. Commander, I'm getting energy signatures that match theoretical models for Devourer technology. The words sent a shock through everyone who heard them. The Devourers were a legend, a species that had supposedly consumed entire civilizations in the distant past before vanishing into the void. Most Council members considered them a myth used to frighten children. Theoretical models? The Council observer asked. Mitchell's tone remained steady, despite the implications of what they were facing. The stories about humanity adapting to hostile environments? They're true. But what the stories don't mention is that we've been preparing for more than just natural hazards. We've been preparing for the day when something from the dark between stars decided to come back. The lead Devourer vessel began broadcasting on all frequencies. The message was simple, terrible, and unmistakable. The harvest had begun. Council observer, Mitchell said, her voice carrying a new weight of authority. I need you to transmit everything you've recorded back to the Council immediately. Tell them the test is over. Tell them we passed. And tell them that humanity is offering alliance, not as subjects seeking approval, but as equals preparing for war. The pirate base, it turned out, had been preparing for the Devourer's return. The Creolon hadn't been raiding for profit. They had been gathering intelligence and resources from masters they hoped would spare them when the consumption began. As the Council monitoring ship transmitted its desperate reports back to the galactic government, the human vessel moved to intercept the Devourer fleet. 4 humans against 7 vessels that each outmassed their ship by a factor of 50. Commander. The monitoring ship's commander transmitted, "This is suicide. Fall back to a safe distance." Mitchell's response came back immediately. There are 47 civilians on that base, and millions more throughout this sector. Safe distance isn't an option. What followed was not a battle in any conventional sense. It was a demonstration of everything that made humanity simultaneously terrifying and inspiring to the galactic community. The humans didn't try to match the Devourer's firepower or technological superiority. Instead, they used every trick, tactic, and advantage their hostile homeworld had taught them. They turned the system's asteroid field into a weapon, using gravitational manipulation to launch massive rocks at relativistic speeds. They exploited the Devourer's overconfidence, leading them into radiation storms that disrupted their targeting systems. Most importantly, they bought time for the Council monitoring ship to escape with intelligence that would change the galaxy's perception of humanity forever. The last transmission from Commander Mitchell's ship was characteristically brief. Tell the Council that the real test starts now. Humanity stands ready to defend the galaxy. The question is whether the galaxy is ready to stand with us. When rescue ships arrived 3 days later, they found the Devourer fleet destroyed and the human vessel missing. The civilians had been safely evacuated from the pirate base, and detailed intelligence about Devourer capabilities had been left in the system's communication buoys. Commander Mitchell and her team were listed as missing in action, but their sacrifice had revealed 2 crucial truths. The ancient enemy had returned, and humanity was willing to stand against them regardless of the cost. The Galactic Councils. Emergency session that followed was unlike any in their history. The test they had designed to evaluate human capabilities had instead revealed that they were facing an existential threat that required everything humanity had to offer. Ambassador Zektar's bioluminescent patterns now showed deep respect rather than suspicion as he addressed the assembled delegates. We called them Deathworlders because we feared what their hostile environment had created. Now we understand that their environment didn't just create survivors. It created guardians. High Chancellor Mordoon's ancient voice carried new hope as he spoke the words that would reshape galactic civilization. Let it be recorded that humanity has proven themselves not as subjects to be studied, but as protectors to be honored. The motion to grant full military alliance status to Earth is hereby approved. The test was over. The war was about to begin. And for the first time in galactic history, the Council was grateful that humans were exactly as dangerous as they had feared.